Hey guys, it's Hunter, welcome back to another video. Alright, so this is a Schecter Avenger, and it's part of the most recent Blackjack Series lineup. It looks like a generic edgelord guitar, but there's actually a few unexpected but very pleasant surprises with this guitar. And that's all coming from a Les Paul player. Let's take a closer look. Alright, so the edgy energy, the edgergy of this guitar kind of put me off it for a little bit, to the point where I may or may not have forgotten that I got this guitar back in November of 2020, maybe it was even October. I am so sorry, you guys. Big shout out to Schecter for sending this guitar over for us to check out together. Hopefully they don't hold grudges. Now, I'm not super familiar with the history of Schecter and the history of all their various models. Obviously, the Schecter C6 was everywhere in the mid-2000s, early 2010s, in all its abalone-bound metalcore glory. This Avenger, I believe, gets its name from Avenged Sevenfold, since Sinister Gate's signature popularized the shape. It might have even been the original introduction, but again, I don't really know. Welcome to the Agufish channel, where we know a ton about Les Pauls and not a lot about anything else. But, so sticking with the theme, for the demo track, I kind of went with a Wish.com Avenged Sevenfold inspired thing. And as part of that, I used the Jet City 100 HDM, which is what Zach Vengeance was using in the latest rig rundown I could find from like 2013. And it's a great sounding amp, Soldano design. It's also noisy as fuck. And unfortunately, it's not one of those modern amps like the Rev Generator that has a great built-in noise gate. So wouldn't it be great if Rev took that noise gate from the generator and package it up into a nice little pedal that could be used with any of your noisy ass amps? Oh wait, that's exactly what they've done with the G8 pedal. Get it? Because gate? How about that? So let's take a quick second and thank Rev for sponsoring today's video. And it's no exaggeration to say that the Rev G8 or Rev Gate was an invaluable part of the signal chain. If you're familiar with my channel, you know I'm not really a pedal person, but I need my noise gates. And perfect timing, Rev released this right as I needed to replace my old noise gate because it died, and I have been loving this unit. I used to run 2 noise gates, one in front of the amp to cut out unwanted guitar noise, and the other in the effects loop to eliminate an annoying preamp hiss before it hits the power amp. What's awesome about this is it does both, or you can use it as a normal gate too. And with hold, release, and threshold knobs, you have precise control over everything. Like, you can literally set the gain on max, throw an overdrive on there, and still the G8 just does its job. You can set it to be super tight, and I didn't really notice it coloring my tone or cutting off the high end either, which is a common complaint about other noise gates. Rev pedals are all made in Canada. The all-metal construction feels rock solid, or metal solid, or whatever. This one doesn't feel like it's gonna break, unlike my last noise gate. Even the control knobs are made of metal, and it looks so cool. Black metallic sparkle, it's like space. So yeah, man, it's a cool pedal, and it makes amps like the PV6505 so much more usable with its ability to tame an outrageous amount of gain. So again, thanks to Rev for sponsoring the video and just making cool shit in general. Links down below if you want to check the Rev G8 out. And while you do that, or when you get back, let's talk about the spectacularly and unapologetically metal guitar that is the Schecter Avenger Blackjack. Now, despite the insane looks, this actually has a lot more in common with traditional instruments than you might think. And I think that has a lot to do with the mahogany body. It's got a nice traditional carve to the top. It's kind of like a solo too, except it's got an additional element of danger. Yeah, you got this thing coming up and trying to murder you if you rock out too hard. It's got a nice belly cut for comfort, and I thought the massive body shape would also indicate massive weight. But again, no, it's actually like a mid-weight guitar. I'd say it's like 7.5 pounds. All right, I swear guys, I'm moving and upgrading the studio soon. A scale is part of that upgrade plan. I also love how the binding is slightly off-white. The contrast gives the guitar a little more character than if it were all black, while being understated enough to not interrupt the super metal vibe. The neck is also made of mahogany with a thin C shape. I'd compare it to ESP's extra thin U shape. It still has more mass to it than an Ibanez Wizard neck. Something I like a lot is that while the body and headstock are both gloss, the back of the neck is satin for smoother playability. Excellent, so I don't have to sand the gloss finish off myself. They've just done it satin right out of the factory. In typical Schecter fashion, it's multi-piece, in this case 3 pieces of mahogany with carbon fiber rod reinforcement for extra stability. I love how that's just a thing with Schecters. They do the technological and material improvements to make the necks ultra stable as the default. Another default spec, the ebony fingerboard has a compound 12 to 16 inch fingerboard radius, which is awesome. Bends on the upper frets don't fret out, chords are comfortable on the lower frets. For the new Blackjack update, they've also changed the inlays to these pearloid lines. Very visible, but also very minimalistic, and it fits the vibe very well. Also, super dope, these extra jumbo frets are now stainless steel. I love these. The specs are rounded out with Schecter locking tuners, a Tone Pros bridge, and the Nutmasters have provided a Graphtec Tusk XL nut. Alright, so if all that wasn't cool enough, the real cool shit is with the pickups. Now, metal guitar, Schecter, what pickups come to mind? EMG, maybe Seymour Duncan, Blackouts, Black Winters, and in previous generations of the Blackjack series, you'd be right. But in this case, the recently refreshed Blackjacks actually come with Lundgren M humbuckers. These are handmade in Sweden, and they were originally designed as an 8-string pickup for Meshuggah's chugtastic uses. So they are very, very good at what you'd expect them to be good at. They gent, okay? Everybody stop asking. And they were designed for extended range first, which isn't very common. Most pickups are designed with 6-string in mind first, then they're kind of tweaked to suit extended range applications. Whereas with these, it was the other way around. Especially with how these started life as 8-string pickups first. The low end is super tight for the chugga chuggas. They're also really crisp, a lot of clarity, and quite bright as well. Now, they are fairly high output, so you're going to want to roll that volume back a little bit if you want them to do really crystalline cleans. Or in the blackjack, you can split them, and with a bit of delay and a little bit of reverb, they sound awesome for cleans in this way too. I find they've got a unique, I don't know, super dry sound, but in a good way that meshes with a synchronized kick really well in a mix. And these are boutique pickups. By themselves, they are quite expensive. A standalone set direct from Lundgren will run you 300 euros before shipping. So they're rarely found in production models. In fact, the only other guitars I know of that ship with Lundgrens are the Schecter Banshee Mock series, which starts at $1549. Or of course, Fredrik Thordendahl and Martin Hagstrom's signature models also have them, but those are 8-string only, which they're fun, but to me at least, they kind of feel like a completely different instrument. Some of us struggle enough with 6 strings, you know what I mean? Anyways, the point that I've been trying to get to with all this is that at $1349, 200 bucks less than the Banshee Mocks, the highly spec'd Blackjack series is the most affordable way to get this specific, super tight, controlled, aggressive, Swedish Lundgren sound. Yeah, Schecter could have included EMGs, Fishman Fluent, Seymour Duncan, and that would have been great. No complaints with any of those, but I'm so glad Schecter went the extra mile, including something relatively unique in these boutique Lundgrens. It's so rare for a mainstream brand to do something like this, and especially to take a risk on a series so well known and beloved as the Blackjacks. I mean, I wish more companies had the balls to follow Schecter's lead in this regard. Now, this guitar and the series are assembled at World Music in South Korea, and they're obviously well known for being one of the top tier import factories in the game. The build quality is, well, I mean, I couldn't find any major problems. There were only 3 super minor flaws I could find. There's a slight cosmetic defect between the neck and the neck pickup, but it's so small I barely noticed it until I did a deep close-up inspection for this video. There are very small fingerboard chips in one area by the nut. Again, didn't notice it until the close inspection for the video. And the last really minor thing is that the truss rod cover screw is slightly off. So the truss rod cover is popping up a little bit. We're talking a couple of millimeters. It's not uncommon, and usually it's hidden by having another screw over by the nut, but in this case, they haven't done that, opting for a single screw for easier access. Speaking of access, the neck heel joint. Schecter calls it the Ultra Access Joint, and yeah, I'd have to agree. Although I did find this massive horn really distracting when playing up here, but that may just be because I'm not used to it. Because, in fact, this entire style of guitar I'm just not used to. I play Les Pauls and Telecasters, and this is slightly different. That being said, it's not actually as different as I'd expected it to be, thanks to the carved top and the Tune-O-Matic style bridge. I guess it kind of doesn't feel too dissimilar to, like, a Les Paul with a 25.5-inch scale length. And, of course, a really thin neck and a 6-in-line headstock. I don't know, man. This is the Single Colt channel. All comparisons are done relative to a Les Paul. Actually, no, scratch all that. This reminds me a lot, actually, of the LTD H3 1000, but with an even wackier shape and a less intrusive volume knob position. And the compound fingerboard radius is definitely a huge bonus as well. Stainless steel frets are always dope, but it's really these Lundgrens that should put the Blackjack series on your radar. The Lundgrens just have such a defined and controlled bass response in particular, and it's a different chug feel to the American and British flavors that have become standard in modern metal guitars. Look, we all have our favorite types of instruments, but sometimes I find it's nice to step out of my comfort zone to bring out fresh ideas, and that's exactly what this guitar that looks like a personal safety hazard did for me. Final word, I know there are a lot of fans of the classic metal guitar look. This has that with modern spec upgrades that make sense in 2022, and the unique Lundgrens are just icing on the blackjack cake. So those are just my thoughts on the Schecter Avenger Blackjack. I'd love to know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Also, have you tried Lundgren pickups before? What was your experience with them? Massive thanks to Schecter for sending this guitar over, and to Rev for sponsoring the video. Thanks to Luke Kramer for doing a great job on the demo track, and to Jordan for editing the video. And of course, shout out to all my wonderful patrons for supporting the channel. Their names are on the screen right now. If you want to grab bonus extras, you can do that by joining as well. Signal chain, social media, merch, and Discord server links are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I'll see you for the next video.